In a world where emotions often run high and situations frequently challenge our patience, learning how to remain calm and unbothered in the face of adversity is a powerful skill. Anger is an emotion that, when unchecked, can consume us and affect our well-being, our relationships, and our overall peace of mind. But what if there was a way to rise above these triggers and maintain serenity, no matter what others say or do? Today, we are going to explore how to never get angry or bothered by anyone, and how you can reclaim control over your emotional responses. First, it's important to understand the root of your anger. Anger rarely stems from the surface issue at hand. Often it's a response to deeper feelings, whether it's insecurity, frustration, fear, or past unresolved hurt. When we feel angry, it's crucial to pause and reflect. What is the true source of this emotion? Are we upset because of something that someone else did, or are we reacting to something within ourselves? By identifying the underlying triggers of our anger, we can begin to address them directly rather than allowing external circumstances to control our emotional state. Next, it's essential to develop emotional control. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing your feelings, but rather responding to them in a healthy, productive way. One technique is to practice mindfulness and self-awareness, which allows you to notice when anger is rising within you before it takes over. By becoming aware of your emotional state, you can take a step back, breathe deeply, and choose to respond with calmness, instead of reacting impulsively. This practice strengthens your ability to stay composed, even in stressful situations. Embracing compassion and empathy is another key to never getting angry or bothered by others. When we recognize that everyone has their own struggles, insecurities, and burdens, it becomes easier to respond with kindness instead of irritation. Often, people act in hurtful ways because they are dealing with their own pain or challenges. By viewing others with empathy and understanding, you shift the focus from their behavior to their humanity. This shift in perspective helps you let go of the need to react negatively and instead respond with grace and patience. Finally, it's crucial to choose your peace over their actions. The actions of others are beyond your control, but how you respond to them is entirely in your hands. When someone behaves in a way that could potentially upset you, remember that you have the power to decide whether to be affected. By choosing to protect your peace and not allowing their actions to dictate your emotional state, you regain your sense of control. Your inner peace becomes more important than any external situation, and as a result, you can maintain a calm, unbothered demeanor in all circumstances. Learning how to never get angry or bothered by anyone is not about suppressing your emotions, but rather about gaining mastery over them. By understanding the root of your anger, developing emotional control, embracing compassion, and choosing your peace, you can navigate even the most challenging interactions with grace and serenity. Remember, your peace is yours to protect, and no one has the power to take it away unless you allow them to. Choose calmness, choose empathy, and most importantly, choose to keep your peace intact. Understanding the root of your anger is a critical first step in gaining control over it. Often, anger is not just about the situation at hand. It's a response to deeper, more complex emotions that have been triggered by external circumstances. When we experience anger, it's important to ask ourselves why we feel this way in the first place. Are we angry because of what someone else said or did? Or is there something within us that is being stirred up? Often, anger can be a response to feeling disrespected, unheard, or even fearful. These feelings stem from deeper insecurities or unresolved past experiences that have been left unchecked. For example, someone cutting you off in traffic might cause an immediate reaction of anger. But if you pause and reflect, you might realize that this feeling has more to do with how you perceive control in your life, or how much you dislike feeling powerless. When we don't take the time to understand the true cause of our anger, we end up projecting those unresolved emotions onto others. The person who cuts us off in traffic becomes the target of our frustration. But in reality, the anger is a reflection of something more personal. By acknowledging the underlying feelings, we can begin to heal and respond more thoughtfully. Instead of blaming external factors for how we feel, we gain the ability to take responsibility for our emotions. This approach gives us the power to shift our reactions from knee-jerk anger to more mindful and controlled responses. It's also essential to recognize that anger often arises from a perceived sense of injustice or unfairness. When we feel that things are not going our way, or that we are being mistreated, it's easy to become defensive. By identifying these emotions, we can begin to separate the behavior of others from our emotional reactions. This helps us gain clarity and realize that we don't have to react in anger to every situation that challenges us. Instead, we can respond with understanding and perspective. Developing emotional control is a powerful skill that allows us to navigate life's challenges with composure and clarity. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring our feelings. Instead, it means recognizing our emotions, understanding them, and then making a conscious decision about how to respond. It's about choosing to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. One of the most effective ways to build emotional control is through mindfulness and self-awareness. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice the subtle shifts in our emotions before they escalate into something bigger. This allows us to take a step back and choose how we want to engage with the situation. For example, when we feel anger rising within us, mindfulness can help us pause for a moment and check in with ourselves. Are we really angry at the person in front of us, or is there something else beneath the surface? By taking this pause, we interrupt the automatic emotional response and create space for a more thoughtful reaction. This gives us the opportunity to breathe, regain our focus, and choose a calmer, more constructive way to address the situation. In addition to mindfulness, developing emotional control also requires practicing patience with ourselves. We all have moments when our emotions seem overwhelming, and it's important to recognize that emotional mastery doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that requires time, effort, and a willingness to learn from each experience. When we make mistakes and allow ourselves to get swept up in anger or frustration, it's crucial to forgive ourselves and move forward, understanding that emotional control is an ongoing practice. Another key element of emotional control is detachment. This doesn't mean disconnecting from our emotions entirely, but it means not letting our emotions control our actions. When we detach from the situation emotionally, we can evaluate the best course of action without being driven by anger, fear, or anxiety. By mastering emotional control, we not only protect our peace of mind, but we also gain the ability to engage more effectively with others and handle life's challenges with a greater sense of calm and resilience. Learning to let go of the need for control is one of the most freeing and transformative practices we can adopt in our lives. So often, our anger and frustration stem from the desire to control things that are beyond our influence, whether it's how others behave, the outcomes of a situation, or the course of events that unfold in our lives. We cling to the idea that if we can just make everything go our way, we will feel safe, secure, and at peace. However, the reality is that we can't control everything, and trying to do so only leads to stress, burnout, and ultimately more anger when things don't unfold as we expect. The key to letting go of control is accepting that life is full of unpredictability and uncertainty, and that's okay. It's about recognizing that, while we can influence our own actions and decisions, we cannot dictate how others act or how every situation will unfold. When we release the need to control everything around us, we free ourselves from the constant tension and frustration that comes with trying to micromanage life. Instead of getting angry when things don't go our way, we can learn to accept the flow of life as it comes, trusting that even in moments of uncertainty, we are still capable of handling whatever arises. Letting go of control also involves trust in ourselves, in the process of life, and in the belief that things will work out as they're meant to. This doesn't mean that we should become passive or complacent. It's about recognizing where we have the power to act and where we need to release our grip. For example, if someone behaves in a way that triggers us, we might feel the urge to control their behavior or change their perspective. However, we can learn to recognize that their actions are beyond our control, and what matters most is how we choose to respond. Instead of reacting with anger, we can choose to set boundaries, walk away from the situation, or even have a calm conversation, accepting that we can only control our own actions, not theirs. By letting go of the need to control every aspect of our lives, we open up space for peace, flexibility, and growth. We learn to trust in the process, and we develop a sense of inner calm that can weather even the most challenging moments. As we release the grip of control, we find that we are better able to navigate life's ups and downs without being overwhelmed by anger or frustration. We can approach each situation with more clarity, understanding, and a deeper sense of peace. Shifting our perspective and adopting a mindset of compassion and empathy can radically transform the way we experience life and interact with others. When we're faced with negative or hurtful behavior from others, our natural reaction may be to feel anger, resentment, or frustration. But by choosing to look at situations through a lens of understanding, we gain the ability to respond from a place of grace, rather than reacting from a place of hurt or defensiveness. Often, the actions of others that trigger us are rooted in their own pain, fear, or unresolved issues. Instead of immediately labeling their behavior as wrong or frustrating, We can choose to empathize with their struggles. Empathy doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but it does allow us to see beyond the surface of a situation and recognize that everyone is carrying their own battles. When we adopt this mindset, we begin to free ourselves from the negative emotions that typically arise when someone's actions affect us. We no longer take their behavior personally, understanding that it is a reflection of their own inner world, not a judgment of ours. This shift in perspective allows us to detach from the emotional charge of the situation and prevents us from internalizing their actions. Furthermore, adopting compassion toward others also encourages us to extend that same kindness to ourselves. We can be kinder to ourselves when we do slip into anger or frustration, recognizing that we are not perfect and that emotional growth is a process. By being gentle with ourselves, we cultivate a sense of peace that isn't easily disturbed by outside influences. This internal peace becomes a powerful shield against the negativity and hostility we may encounter, and it enables us to maintain our composure, even in the most difficult situations. When we respond to others with compassion instead of anger, we shift the dynamics of the interaction. We break the cycle of negativity and create space for understanding and healing. This not only helps us maintain our emotional peace, but it also has the potential to change the behavior of those around us. Often, when people feel understood and not judged, they are more likely to reflect on their own actions and make more positive choices. In this way, by leading with empathy and compassion, we not only transform our own experience but also influence the world around us in a more positive direction. In conclusion, mastering the art of not getting angry or bothered by others is a powerful skill that can bring peace and clarity into our lives. By recognizing our own emotional triggers and learning how to control our reactions, we take control of our emotional well-being. Embracing the idea of letting go of the need for control allows us to accept the unpredictability of life, reducing unnecessary stress and frustration. At the same time, shifting our perspective to one of compassion and empathy helps us to see beyond others' actions and understand that they are often influenced by their own struggles. By adopting these practices, we cultivate a peaceful mind and a resilient spirit, transforming how we interact with the world. Ultimately, when we stop allowing external factors to dictate our emotional state, we unlock the power to lead a life full of calm, compassion, and understanding.